So I sit down so we get started.
Y'all get started later today.
All right. Thank you all for being here. I will call the regular session of the Lincoln Parish School Board to order for today, Tuesday, August 5th of 2025. I would ask that Clark Canterbury lead us in a prayer and David Ferguson will lead us in a pledge. If y'all would rise for that.
Let's pray. Father God, just what a privilege we have, Father, to be able to come publicly to meet, Father, to discuss the business of the Lincoln Parish Schools. And Father, we just pray that as a new school year kicks off next week, Father, that you will provide safety, Father, that you will provide wisdom and guidance for the teachers and the students as they start a new school year. And we just pray for a wonderful year full of learning and all that comes with it, Father. And just keep every one of them safe. Be with the teachers as they prepare to accept students next week, Father. Just have them ready to go to school. And Father, we thank you for all that you do for us, Father. Forgive us where we fail you so many times. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Hopefully before you've had a chance to review the agenda for tonight's meeting. And I would ask that you review that quickly, and so we can approve that.
Having hearing nothing from the public, I move we approve the next permit.
Thank you, Mr. Anders. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Thank you very much. Okay, also, hopefully you've had a chance to review the minutes of last month's meeting that were produced of July 8th, 2025. Hopefully you've had a chance to review that. If so, can I get a motion that we approve those?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Hancock. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by, we'll give it to Ms. Linda Henderson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Thank you very much. Any unfinished business for this board tonight? Seeing none, we'll quickly move on to item number 6, which is the policy manual revisions. Mr. Young.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. It seems like we do this every August, just about. So these are all revisions from the 2024 and 25 legislative sessions. The very first is IFA instructional materials. This Act 103 provides access to parents for our instructional materials, including access to online materials. IFPGA, acceptable use policy for school computers and the internet, student use, and also JCPAF, bullying and hazing. So Act 686 repeals 17280, which address student training for internet and cell phone use. It also removes teacher training on bullying and hazing from 17/4/16/14. JBD, student absences excuses, essentially takes our absences and excuses down to 3 categories: excused, unexcused, and also suspended, expelled. JV expulsion, Act 497. That's effective on August 1, reduces the mandatory time of expulsion from 4 semesters to 2 for certain offenses in grades 6 through 12. JB, school wellness, updates district policy to align with state requirements. JCE, child abuse, effective August 1, they revised the children's code 603 and 610 to change the language addressing school resource officers and their reporting procedures. The new language says that any school resource officer that suspects child abuse and neglect, or if a mandatory reporter of child abuse reports suspected child abuse to a school resource officer, the SRO shall immediately notify his employing agency and also DCFS. And the last one is JGCF, behavioral health supports for students, and this is effective August 1, enacted revised statute 171731. Requires that each public school make available to each student in grades 3 through 12 a mental health assessment by a licensed behavioral health provider, as long as it comes at no expense to the school board. So I'm going to ask, because a lot of these policies need to be enacted in our student handbooks for release next week, that we do this in 2 phases. Number 1, waive the review period BD as a voting item, and then after that, if the board approves it, to accept these policies as written. So 2 separate items.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Okay, so before us, first of all, is the, to get a motion that we waive BD, which basically waives the 1 month review period for these items due to the fact that they need to be in the student handbook next week. Do I have a motion that we waive BD?
So moved.
So moved by Donna Doss. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. David Ferguson. Do we have any questions about that from the audience or board?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
not to deter emotion, but one observation I wanted to ask the superintendent about Mr. Young. There was a statement regarding our board was to enact a school health advisory council. And is that something that we customarily do, Mr. Superintendent? Or is that something new?
That's a part of the school wellness policy. Ms. Thorough supervises that if she wants to add some commentary about it.
We do have that listed, like we put it out for, we wanted members of the community to
Right.
join. We did have some members join. We just completed our triennial review of our policy, which is why we're showing that we had some policy revisions. It came out of that triennial review. So we do have like a advisory committee that works with us. Each school also has their own advisory committee made up of parents and community members. And
Okay.
one of the things we want to add are students. We want students involved in those advisory committees at each school level as well.
I can appreciate that, but yet and still, it was stipulated that that was something that was to be provided, the superintendent by the board. Was that something that this board was made aware of, possibly, or no?
So, I mean, we already had the committees. I think what was new here, to my understanding, is we had to provide the screener, the health assessment, behavioral health assessment.
Okay.
I was talking about, like, and we, as a district, can do that with the mental health counselors we have on campuses at no extra cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted some clarification. Appreciate that.
So any questions about whether or not we vote on BD? Let me just be clear, that's to vote for this vote, to waive BD. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say no.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, we'll wait that one. No, I hear you, brother. Sit in this chair, it can happen anytime, I promise you.
Been
You've been there. Many years you were here. All right, anyway, see what happens when you say stupid stuff. All right, number 2
Yep.
is to approve the changes that we saw in the policy manual. Do I have a motion that we approve those changes?
So moved.
So moved. Okay, we'll give that one to Debbie Abram. Do I have a second?
Second.
by Mr. Joe Mitchell. Any questions from the audience on that? Any questions from the board, I should say? Any feedback from the audience?
It's good that we're doing this, and we'll have this when we open. From experience, it's the first day that we're back, that we will always need these things.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Thank you. All right, now we're gonna move on to the crux of the meeting, which is item 7.1, the accountability update. Mr. Young, is that for you?
A portion of it. So we will have a few people present. The very first part of this presentation will be a youth live presentation from Louisiana Tech. I'm gonna let Louisiana Tech introduce themselves. And so,
All right. About a year ago, we presented to you a partnership that we were entering with Louisiana Tech, where we were adopting the UFly Foundation's curriculum. And we were partnering with Louisiana Tech to help us implement this curriculum and improve the literacy outcomes of our students in grades K through 2. Our literacy vision for students in grades K through 2 is that by the end of 2nd grade, we want our students reading on grade level. That's our goal. I think our goal, our mission measure is set at 85%. Of course, I've told you before, I won't quit until we're at 100%. Like, that's truly the goal that we have. Through the implementation of UFly Foundations, the Louisiana Tech partnership has been so instrumental. They provided professional development for our teachers on the curriculum. They've joined me in walkthroughs in all of our teachers' classrooms throughout the whole year, providing feedback to the teachers. They've helped me plan professional development for our teachers, because when we would do walkthroughs, we would look for, okay, where are areas that we're doing really well and what are parts of the curriculum we might need to improve or work on. So we would develop professional development. So they helped me in that area. And we presented to you. In addition, we also reached out to the community. We had a lot of community support. As a matter of fact, the community, we had donations that around $20,000 for literacy from the Ruston Lincoln Parish community, which was phenomenal. With that support, we were able to make sure that all of our teachers had all of the resources that they needed. Manipulatives, dry erase boards, all those kinds of things they needed to fully implement the curriculum. So with that, all of that being said, I would love to introduce the Louisiana Tech team, part of the team. They're not all here, and they're going to share their report of the findings from the first year of implementation, which were pretty impressive, I think. So without further ado.
Well, good evening. My name is Dr. Dustin Whitlock. I'm the Interim Department Chair of Curriculum Instruction and Leadership at Louisiana Tech University in the College of Education and Human Sciences. With me tonight are Dr. Libby Manning and Dr. Miranda Allen, who are part of our literacy team, who have been working through this project in conjunction with the district. And so we want to walk through tonight and just share a little bit with you about some of the initial findings. We met last week with the leadership team to kind of go through a little bit of some of the data and then to share with you all tonight kind of a synopsis of some of that and to walk through that with you. To any of the board members or to anybody present, I'm happy to walk through the full data set with you at any time. Should you be interested in that, I'd be happy to sit down with you and talk with you about the work that we've been doing in conjunction with the district. Before I dive off into that, I do want to say thank you specifically to our faculty for being a part of this project. These are folks that care deeply about the field of education, but also care deeply about this community. And so I'm very grateful for them. I'm very grateful for the leadership team of the Lincoln Parish School Board, to Ms. Thrower for her work in this. Certainly coming alongside of us and supporting us in that way. Very appreciative of that. And very appreciative to you all as the board. These kinds of partnerships are deeply important to the university, and being able to connect with the community is very important to the work that we do from the university standpoint. And so I'm happy to share this with you. The slides are going to be up on the board. Miss Howell, down. Oh, there we go. Okay. Before we dive into any of the data, I do want to talk with you a little bit about some of the information that was shared with you in previous meeting. You previously got to hear from Dr. Manning tonight. I'm sorry you get to hear from me for a little bit, but she'll jump in definitely. So we started off with data collection strategy of looking at opportunities to collect different sources of data in order to understand where the students kindergarten through second grade were in Lincoln Parish. What we wanted to do is we wanted to look at this data over time and look at the growth of students at different intervals throughout the year. Throughout the presentation tonight, you'll see those intervals are listed as BOY, MOY, and EOY. BOY standing for beginning of year, middle of year, and end of year. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to identify specific sticking points that were going on in classrooms, where students were struggling, and where we could provide additional support to those students, to those classrooms, to those teachers. The school level data is the literacy screener, as I said, collected beginning of year, middle of year, end of year. And really what we wanted to look at from the classroom level was the dosage, adherence, and quality of the instruction that was delivered. Ms. Thurber talked specifically about the walkthrough data that we are collecting. Tonight, I'm not going to report on that walkthrough data. That's still something that we're analyzing. It was something that we were, as we met with these teachers, as we saw these teachers in their instructional practice, we wanted to provide direct feedback to them via Ms. Thrower, via the curriculum coaches, via principals, assistant principals, all those folks. And so that dosage, adherence, and quality rubric, it is very important with a structured curriculum like this that teachers are adhering to the design of the model. The UFLI data that we collected is specific to spelling tasks at both the word level and sentence level, and we're working to improve consistency in the upcoming school year. This partnership, when we came into it, was hopefully looking at a 3-year partnership where we came in with implementation in the first year and then slowly helping the district build capacity. And I told Ms. Thrower and the rest of the team the other day, ultimately my goal from the university standpoint is to have Lincoln Parish be doing this on their own, that they have the skill set and the ability to implement this curriculum at a high level and support these students. So we'll walk a little bit through the data here, starting off looking at kindergarten through second grade. This bar graph here shows all kindergarten through second grade students over the last year for the 24-25 academic year. The population of that is 1,343 students. And so you can see at the beginning of the year where these students were is the dark blue bar on the left-hand side. And so you see there across the district, there were 514 students that were well below benchmark, 237 students that were below benchmark, 323 students at benchmark, and 269 students above benchmark. So what you're seeing here is beginning of the year to the middle of the year, which is the middle column in each one of those distributions, and then the end of year percentages. And so what you're seeing here is a significant growth of students across Lincoln Parish and a significant shift of students growing as they are participating in this curriculum. To go a little bit further, this is a little bit better view of it in pie chart form of the beginning of the year data and the distribution of those scores. And so what you see here is that at the beginning of the year this year, or last academic year rather, there were 56% of students who were either below benchmark or well below benchmark, right? Leaving 44% either at or above benchmark. And so when we look at this, the population of kindergarten through second grade students from beginning of year to now, this is end of year. And so you can see that shift from beginning of year to end of year. And so at the beginning of the year, where we were 56% either below or well below benchmark, at the end of year, we were down to just 31% of students below or well below benchmark. Now, as we look at this data, we start to recognize some highlights, and we want to make sure that we're thinking about this in a way that both recognizes the growth that took place over this academic year, but also recognizing the growth that needs to continue to happen. As Ms. Thrower said, I'm not sure she's going to rest until the percentages continue to go up. And I can tell you my team is dedicated in the same way. We believe very strongly in the work that's being done and believe that we can continue to grow over time. And so you see some highlights there for the kindergarten through second grade overview, but the areas that we want to continue to grow is that there are still quite a few students that are not at benchmark by the end of the year, right? And this is one of the things that as we report this data to you tonight, I'm very happy to say that this is something that the district has already observed and is already working towards eliminating. These are students that are already being supported, and we're already identifying opportunities to continue to support them as they move into the next academic year. When Dr. Manning presented to you all earlier this year, she shared with you about effect size. So when we look at this information, we want to talk about statistical significance, and statistical significance tells us that a change is likely because of this new curriculum and because of this change. But what we really want to look at is the effect size, because it tells us really how big the change is, right? And so for this last year, across Lincoln Parish schools, the kindergarten effect size was 0.68. The first grade effect size was 0.84, and the second grade effect size was 0.94. And so you can see the kindergarten 0.68 falls in the desired effects range of Hattie's effect index, but then the first grade and the second grade changes, not only are they within the desired effects, they're in the high range of desired effects. And so what we're looking at here is not just a statistical significance of score change. What we're really looking at is an effect size that indicates how big that change really is. As we look at specific to kindergarten data, we'll look at kindergarten beginning of year data of the 414 kindergartners across the district. 75% of those students started the year either below or well below benchmark. Which is a large percentage of students across the district, leaving 25% of students either at benchmark or above benchmark. The change from beginning of year to middle of year was the most significant in kindergarten, but the change from beginning of year to end of year resulted with just 31 students being below or well below benchmark. And so we moved from just 25% of students either being at benchmark or above benchmark to 69% of students being above benchmark or at benchmark. I think this is clear data that shows that the work that's being done at the kindergarten level is showing success, and these teachers are certainly to be commended for the work that they're doing. When we look at the kindergarten highlights, we do see that there's a 44% increase from beginning of year to end of year for students that are at benchmark and above benchmark. And the well below and below students actually decreased by 44%, which is a really strong trend for those kindergarten students. The areas of growth identified for kindergarten students is that our beginning of year below and well below numbers are still too high. This is something that we've already started to plan for. Again, this is an opportunity where we report on this data, and I'm happy to say that Ms. Thrower's team is already starting to address these things. But we also recognize that there's still work to be done. By the end of the year, there were still 130 kindergarten students that were not reading at benchmark. Moving on to first grade, when we look at first grade, first graders started the year. There were 477 first graders that started the year. 52% of those students were either below or well below the benchmark on the literacy screener. But then when we contrast that to the end of year data, only 32% were below or well below, with 68% of students scoring at or above benchmark for that same population. When we look at those first grade students, certainly some highlights to look at is that the at benchmark and above benchmark students increased 20% from beginning of year to end of year, and the well below and below students decreased 20%. Obviously, we're again looking at those end of year numbers, and we're trying to understand where those students are that are still not reading at benchmark and what kind of interventions can be put in place to support those students. Moving on to second grade, looking at this second grade data, the beginning of year showed that there were 43% of students either below or well below benchmark. But the end of year contrast is a drop from 43% to just 31% of students in second grade at or below benchmark for the literacy screener. Some highlights from the second grade, that at benchmark and above benchmark students increased from 12% beginning of year to end of year. So a good number of students moving in that direction. The above benchmark increased 20% from beginning of year to end of year. And then 69% of students in the second grade across the district are at or above benchmark at the end of the year. Again, very commendable for the work that's being done across the district, but we also want to recognize the areas for growth. We still want to be working with those students who at the end of the year were not reading at benchmark. While our team has broken down these grade level percentages, we also looked at a few different subgroups that I want to share with you tonight. We'll look at just a few of them. The trends across all of the subgroups. I reported to the leadership team last week. We reported to the leadership team last week. The trends are really positive, not just across grades, but also across subgroups. So when we look at African American students across the district, we see that 65% of students started the year either below or well below benchmark. This is kindergarten through second grade. And you see there on the left-hand side, the beginning of year percentages, and the right-hand side is the end of year percentages, with a reduction from 65% to 41% of students below or at below or well below benchmark, which is a strong reduction in those areas. When we look at Hispanic and Latino students, they started the year with 59% of students being either well below or below benchmark, with a reduction from 59% down to just 29%. Just 29% there in the end of year, with 73% of students moving to either at or above benchmark. Again, commendable numbers for teachers working with students within the district. The other students categorized as other races, 60% of them started the year at either below or well below, with a reduction down to just 31% of students at or below or well below benchmark by the end of the year. When we look at the subgroups based on race and ethnicity, we did see that the African American students are decreasing, or students decreased 24% in below and well below from beginning of year to end of year. That was a consistent change across other races as well. White students actually decreased by 24% as well. And so the trend was very positive across all students. And I think that's the thing that we want to make sure we highlight. Specifically with Hispanic and Latino students across the district, they had the largest decrease of well below and below benchmark students, and it was down 32%. But again, we're looking for areas to continue growing and supporting the district as we move into year 2 of implementation. And so we want to see greater levels of reduction across beginning of year to end of year data. When we look specifically at the subgroup of SPED students, we started the year, this last academic year, with 80% of SPED students identified as either below or well below benchmark to start the year, with a reduction down to 63%. Which is really a strong trend for students who are identified as special education students. And that at benchmark and above benchmark group grew from 20% to 37% over the course of the academic year. EL students, this is one of the groups that we really like to highlight. In Lincoln Parish, English language learning students started the year with 31% of them being at benchmark or above benchmark, and ended the year with 72% of students at or above benchmark. That is a very remarkable change in students who are learning the language and who are developing those skills in kindergarten through second grade. A reduction there of 69% beginning of year to just 28% end of year. So again, big changes there. Looking at economically disadvantaged students, 65% of economically disadvantaged students started the year at either below or well below benchmark and ended the year with a reduction down to 40% of students being below or well below benchmark. Again, those students, economically disadvantaged students, only 35% of them to start the year were at or above benchmark, and then ended the year with nearly 60% of them being at or above benchmark. As we look at these highlights, we see a 41% decrease in EL students from well below and below benchmark from beginning of year to end of year, a 25% decrease in economically disadvantaged students from well below and below benchmark beginning of year to middle of year. Certainly, we see areas of growth. We want to continue to work with those SPED students, and we identify that as an area of focus. We've already started to have lots of conversations about what kinds of interventions can be put in place and what kind of supports can be put in place. And also, as we think about that, we want to make sure that we are supporting all students. These areas for growth, we're looking at all students across the district to be able to support. As we think about years 2 and 3, there are some areas of further investigation that we're looking at as a team. We're going to dive deeper into these statistics to better understand a little bit more about what exactly is going on, taking those down to the school level, taking those down to the classroom level, looking at subgroups with covariates a little more deeply. But we also recognize that the DIBELS screener gives us information about subtests. What are the specific skills and what are the specific issues that certain students may be having, certain populations of students may be having, or certain schools are having, right? And we want to build that capacity for those literacy coaches, for those facilitators, and for those classroom teachers to be able to provide quality instruction for students in Lincoln Parish. We also want to make sure that we are thinking about how students are growing in the interval time between beginning of year, middle of year, and between middle of year and end of year. And so what we've developed is the interval progress monitoring of students, where we want to not just look at beginning, middle, and end of year, but look at the changes that are happening between beginning of year and middle of year. What are the things that are happening in the classroom that are a catalyst for changes for students, and then taking it down to classroom level analysis. When talking to the leadership team, the thing that is very clear is their commitment to having tough conversations, right? That as we continue to show this data, as we continue to talk with these schools and these teachers, those conversations about improving instruction are going to happen, and they're already happening, which is exciting for us to see. Also, we want to make sure that we're looking at the fidelity of implementation. As I said, when teachers follow the curriculum, the students tend to do well. And I think that the data show that when there's a strong implementation of the curriculum, students are going to continue to grow. So that is a whole lot of information. As I said, I'm happy to talk with you all and share with you all the full data set at any time, but I do want to leave opportunities for questions. If it's specific to the data, I'm happy to share, but luckily I have a couple of literacy experts here with me tonight who would love to share as well. And so if the board has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them at this point.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
So when we talk about, you said the second grade is a 0.94 effect.
Mhm.
So how many students are we looking at from second grade that's below, well below, that's going into third grade with, and we know that we have a mandate that those students need to score on or above grade level? How many students are we looking at coming into incoming school?
That's yes, ma'am. That's a great question, Dr. Williams. So 31% of students end of year for second grade, and the population is 456. And I can't give that exact calculation off the top of my head, but of the 456 the 456 population, 31% of them scored below or well below benchmark at the end of the school year. Now, Ms. Thrower, I'm sure would be happy to talk with you about, those are students that already have received or intervention this summer. And so, Ms. Thrower, I don't know if you want to answer that question a little more effectively than I can.
Well, I've explained talked to the board before about the individual academic support plan. So any student that is below proficient from kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade on DIBELS, they get an individual academic support plan. And that plan is written for them. It defines the interventions that are going to happen. School leaders meet with parents, they go over that information, they share resources with parents that parents could also use with those students at home. And so, we have a plan in place to meet intervention and the school's master schedule, in addition to that, has a block of time set aside for in-school interventions. It's a 30-minute window. And in that window, they divide the kids up into groups. We call it extra time to learn. And so we want all of our students getting extra time to learn, not just the kids that are below and well below. That's our main focus, but we also have activities and things for those kids that are benchmark and above a benchmark to continue enriching them as well in literacy.
So did we have this in place last year?
Yes, the academic support plans, yes.
Okay, so how successful was it last year with those second graders coming in? Because we had summer school, students in summer school, so we got an upcoming year. What are we going to continue on with the same interventions, or what are we going to do?
The plans are built every year for those students, and then we progress monitor throughout. So as we're doing interventions, we're progress monitoring those students weekly on whatever skill we're working on. So and maybe Dr. Manning can jump in here too, because with reading development, with literacy, you can't just throw everything at them, right? You have to figure out where is the skill deficit, and that's what we have to focus on. So we focus on that first, we progress monitor. When we see that they are making progress, and that would be after 3 successful progress monitoring assessments, then we're going to look at them again and say, okay, what are we going to do next? What do they need next? And so we keep working on that continuum to get them back to grade level. So that's just how we do it, how we work on it.
I guess that 128 something students, how can we get a report about middle of the year to see what that group of students is at? Because concerned summer school, we want them on grade level.
For sure.
Or above grade level. So can y'all report back to us an update on?
Well, we're doing the screening 3 times a year. So we'll have beginning of year data. So this is end of year data. So we know there's going to probably be some summer slide in there. So we will have beginning of year data. And that's really the starting point of where we're going to determine interventions for this school year, is from that BOI data.
And that's the third grade group
That's every group, kindergarten, first grade. Well, kindergarten, we start their academic support plans after mid-year assessments, because we know we've got to see where they are and who they are and where they're coming in, and give them some instruction before we can start intervening. First, second, and third, we're looking at that BOY data when they come in, comparing it to EOI. EOI is a good starting point, but we want to see where are you now after the summer. Then we develop those plans and we start working with them and progress monitoring them. And as we're progress monitoring, we're hoping that what we're doing is working. If it's not, if we progress monitor and we get 3 in a row that say, no, this isn't working, 3 weeks in a row, we're going to back up and figure out, okay, what else do we need to work on? This isn't what's working. So, yes, we're tracking, we have a tracker, we're progress monitoring. Then we'll have the mid-year data report, and again, we're going to compare those results to beginning of year.
Can I add one thing? New to third grade this year will be interventions with youth line. So Ms. Thrower and Dr. Manning trained our third grade teachers at the end of the year on that. So that's a new initiative in response to these.
And that's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Will we create special programs for these kids that failed in the third grade? What program would we develop for them, since they're going to be a repeat of the third grade because they didn't pass So what are we doing to redevelop them and get them back to the standards that acceptable that go to fourth grade?
Again, we'll have the intervention groups, and like Ms. Howell was saying, for those third graders, we are going to be implementing U-Flat with them this year in those small group lessons. Again, we're going to do a diagnostic, figure out exactly what skill they need, where do we start, and start working from there. And these third graders, those second graders coming into third grade only had 1 year of U-Fly. So while we had a lot of success and we saw a lot of growth, we know that there's still some gaps because they only had 1 year of a strong curriculum. So that's why we're implementing the U-Fly in third grade for those students to help continue to fill those gaps.
Other questions?
I don't have a question, I have a comment. Just want to say thank you to the Louisiana Tech team and our leadership and our teachers that took this on. Dustin, personally, this is kind of a cool moment to see a Lincoln Parish graduate that has come up through this school, a kid of 2 educators from this district, sitting up here addressing us, kind of a cool moment, and I just wanted to say thank you for your leadership in that.
Thank you for that. I will say, having students in this district and believing firmly in the public education in Lincoln Parish, I'm incredibly grateful to you all. This was not a partnership that we anticipated to start the year. Our team's initial ask was just to work with a couple of teachers at each grade level, and it grew exponentially very quickly, but it showed only the deep commitment that the leadership team of Lincoln Parish has to serving students. And they said, look, if you believe that this works, we want to do it for everybody. We want to work it in all schools for all students to support all students. And so I'm incredibly grateful to you, the board, again, to the leadership team, to the Louisiana Tech team. This has been a true community effort. Ms. Thrower mentioned we had local businesses, local individuals who gave money to this initiative. I'm just incredibly grateful for the way that the community has pulled together through the work that's being done in Lincoln Parish to support students. And we're excited about what's to come. I do, in the conversations that we've had, we hope to continue to see very big things coming from the district and supporting the district, and ultimately an opportunity where the district is managing this with very little support from the university. Not that we don't want to help, but that we want to grow the capacity and support for the district. And then we get the opportunity to report this story and tell this story of the amazing things that are happening in Lincoln Parish. This data, as we look at it, it is really remarkable. When you look at UFly's data, there's not a lot of it out there that doesn't show positive things, but a lot of it doesn't show this level of positivity. And so we want to continue to see those trends grow as we deepen this relationship with the district. So thank you all very much.
And just a little plug, if you haven't had an opportunity to go and watch children and teachers engaging in this, I urge you to go and do that because you will leave so joyful.
Yes.
It is incredible to see kindergartners who are writing, and y'all, their handwriting, that's another thing. The handwriting, the spelling, the reading, it is all just shot up. And the materials that they're using are good old simple things, some dry erase boards and markers and pencils and magnet letters that they can move. And they are so proud of themselves. They are so proud of themselves. And the teachers are too. So it's just a glorious thing. And it's almost like you walk into schools and you just feel the warmth when you walk in. I mean, there's just smiles on faces. So it's a beautiful thing to see. And we can't wait to come back and show you numbers moving in even better directions because we're not resting until they all read. And write, by the way, while we're at it.
Thank you all so much.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Next, Dr. Hearn.
Good evening. Okay, I'd like to follow up as the group from Louisiana Tech shared the data for the literacy from kindergarten through second grade. I just want to give an update on the results of the third grade. According to Act 422, which give us the guidelines and the policy for students promoting to grade promoting to grade 4 from grade 3. We are happy to report that 98% of third graders met the requirements of Act 422 to progress on to fourth grade. Okay. From there, I'll go into the LEAP data. The LEAP data was released Monday, June 30th, right before we hit the month of July. And so I would like to give a quick report on where we are with that. In this report, I'm going to talk about proficiency rates or percentages. And when we speak of proficiency rates or percentages, we're talking about those students who score mastery and advance. As you know, we're moving into the new school performance score calculator. That formula, in the past, we were awarded some points, 80 points for basic, and then for mastery, 100 points for advanced, 150. With this new performance score, we are no longer awarded points for basic. It is expected that students are reaching proficiency, being mastery or above. So
Do
with
you
that,
have a handout? I'm sorry.
I do not. Okay. So with that being said, the grade 3 through 8, and this is including ELA, math, and science. Social studies scores and civic scores have not been released yet. They will be released after the August 20th BESI meeting. They have to give some approval for some cut scores. So we're looking forward to seeing that coming later this month. So the proficiency rate combined for ELA, math, and science for grades 3 through 8 is 42% proficient. And when we compare that to the state, that is, the state had a proficiency rate mastery of above of 35%. Okay. When we look at the rankings of the data that was released by the State Department, like I said, the week of June 30th, if we rank the districts according to their percent proficiency, then it is, we can see that Lincoln Parish is ranked within the top 10 districts across the state as far as the percent of students who are ranking proficient. Okay. When we move into looking more specifically at ELA and math, the percentage proficient for ELA in grades 3 through 8 is 48%. And the percent proficient for math is 42%. And that is up 2% because last year our proficiency rate in math based on mastery and above was 40%. We moved up to 42%. And I'll back up and say ELA, we're at 48% this year, which was the same as last year. Moving from 3 through 8 into high school, and this data was pulled from our DRC data file. DRC is the company, LEAP, who the vendor for that. So just pulled the data file and calculated these numbers. For all 6 tested subjects, that's going to be Algebra 1, Geometry, English 1, English 2, Biology, and U.S. History. 46% of the students scored proficient. That's mastery above on the spring assessment, spring 2025 assessments. When we break that down and look at the English and the math, 55% of the students scored proficient if you combine English 1 and English 2. And then 46% scored proficient in the math, which is a combination of the algebra and the geometry. Okay, any questions?
Were those trending up too?
For the
math and the ELA?
Okay, for overall for the 6 subjects, like I said, that's the math, ELA, science, and the U.S. history. We do not have the civic scores yet. That is in last year, it was a 47% proficiency, and we moved down to 46%. As far as English 1 and 2, last spring 2024, we were at 57%. We're down to 55%. However, and also for math, we saw a drop there. For the algebra and the geometry for spring 2024, we were at 47% and we're down to 46%. So we saw some drops in our high school. While we saw some increases in 3 through 8 proficiency rates, we did see some drops in high school proficiency rates.
What would you attribute that to?
Could I speak to
I
that
was
really
about to say
quickly?
about falls in the
So a lot of our dips were in the 10th grade, but biology, the English 2, and then geometry. And so I kind of went on a deep dive looking at that, and I traced that cohort back to sixth grade in English because I was ELA facilitator at that point. And what I noticed year over year is that while that group might have had a lower proficiency, they have grown each year. And so I did see that pattern of growth. That to me is something that I want us to be aware of this year as those children move into the ACT age.
Okay, thank you.
So as you were talking, I pulled up from the State Department, the website, the data that you're going over. What do you, what is the plan as far as with the subgroups, the gaps in the with the subgroups?
Okay. Could I speak to that too?
You can speak.
And we're going to talk about this a little bit more on Thursday, but I'll give y'all just a quick overview because obviously, like Dr. Hearn said, the data came out on was June 30th. I think a lot of us were on vacation. I started crunching the numbers. So again, Mr. Young will speak in detail on Thursday about updates to our strategic plan. But just a couple things that we have already started working on this summer in response to the data. One, we would like to be more like K2 in being more strategic in progress monitoring throughout the year, because when the LEAP scores come back, I mean, it's summertime, the year's over. I say it's kind of like a post-mortem. And so we are coming up with district assessments, grades 3 through 12 in all the core subjects, math, science, ELA, and social studies. And we are working with J Campus to progress monitor throughout the year. And with J Campus, we have the ability to disaggregate by subgroup as well. So we have a plan to pay more attention to that. Kind of a renewed focus on interventions. Again, Ms. Thrower spoke to that some. We've done some trainings already in June with school leaders. We're going to do another with instructional coaches in August about interventions. And then we already talked about third grade interventions incorporating UFly. So that's just a quick hit of some things that we've already started working on in response to the data.
So when you talk about the benchmarks, how often are you going to benchmark the students?
It
the
depends.
Grades 3 through 12.
It depends. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It depends on the subject and the curriculum. But all of our district assessments will be curricular, and it kind of depends on the module per unit. And so in ELA, that may be a little bit longer, but we're looking anywhere from 5 weeks to 7 weeks.
Okay, so every 5 to 7 weeks.
About.
Okay. And have we looked at the validity and reliability as far as the assessments from J Campus compared to what the actual LEAP assessment, like the rigor?
Right. Okay. So what we're really trying to focus on is making sure we're aligned to the grade level standards.
Right.
And so with our high quality instructional materials, we know that those are aligned to the standards. And with J Campus, we have the ability to like tag specific standards and kind of keep an eye on those.
Okay.
Thank you for those questions.
And I would like to address the subgroups. I do have that. As far as from last year to this year, spring 24 to 25, once again, looking at proficiency levels, which is mastery and advanced, there was a zero change in the percent of students for Black, African American, regular education, English learners, and males. There was a 1% increase going from 58 to 59 to 41 to 42, respectively, for white students and female students. We had an increase of 2% from 10% proficient to 12% proficient with students with disabilities. For Hispanics and Latinos, we increased from 26% proficient to 29% proficient. For American Indian or Alaskans, we increased from 29% to 33% proficient. For Asians, we increased from 69% to 74% proficient. For students in foster care, we increased from 26% proficient to 33% proficient. And for military, we increased from 21% proficient to 36% proficient. We do not have a high enough number for homeless for us to be able to see we didn't have a high enough number in 2024 to be able to see a change there. And we did notice some drops for students who are not economically disadvantaged. We dropped from 65% to 64%. That's a 1% drop. For those who are classified as economically disadvantaged, we dropped from 28% to 27%. For those students who identify as two or more races, we dropped from 56% to 51%. And from students who are identified as migrant, we dropped from 33% to 20% proficient. So those are the numbers.
So why do you think it was a 13-point drop in the migrants?
I'm not sure I don't have the number in front of me. I'm not sure if we had an increase in the number of migrants. I would have to talk to Ms. Comstock, who handles that. So I can't tell you what happened there, but I can check and find out. I can check with her and see if our numbers increase or what was happening there.
So with the Black and African American, we are at 22%.
Yes, we were at 22% last year. We're at 22% this year. Any other questions?
And you said on Thursday, we're going to talk about the plan and all the other.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, thank you for your attention.
Thank you. And the last piece is a summer learning update or recap. So our K through 6 summer learning program was held at Russell Elementary over 14 days from June 2nd to June 20th. Students were on campus for approximately 6 hours each day and also provided breakfast and lunch. Of that day, students received instruction in ELA and math and also had rotations. We got to make it a little bit exciting to get them to come. They had rotations of art. They had STEM, PE mixed in there a little bit, and then also they had social, emotional learning from our mental health counselors. The classes were staffed by 2 teachers. We wanted to keep our numbers low in terms of the effect it would have on students. So each class for K through 6 was staffed with 2 teachers. Our selection criteria for the teachers were for 2023-24, in order to apply to teach some learning, you had to be rated highly effective on your previous year's evaluation. So we wanted to make sure that our kids got the best instruction over that time period. In order to pick the kids, we had to see exactly what model we would follow. So there are 4 things that we use to determine which kid actually needed to go somewhere. Number 1, if you were failing the pupil progression plan. So for most students below high school, in order to pass to the next grade, with the exception of 3rd grade, you have to pass ELA and math, no questions asked, and then science or social studies. Okay, so that's one thing. So if you did not or were not passing per pupil progression, you needed to go to summer learning. The other thing too is that if you singularly failed ELA or math, that triggered you to go to summer learning as well. And then number 3 was well below performance on the DIPL screen. So students that were not performing well on their DIPL screen, you actually needed to go to summer learning. That's an opportunity to retest was part of the Act 422. So students did get a chance to remediate Fahrenheit Gibson data along with what Dr. Hearn mentioned a second ago. And the last and probably the smallest category was school and also parent recommendations. So in order to, like I said, to keep the class number small, we did take some parent recommendations of parents and principals thought, hey, this student here needed to go. We made a list of those kids, and then as classes had sections that weren't completely full, we actually honored some of those requests to get students in there. So a total of 258 students across the district in grades K through 6 were chosen to attend summer learning through those 4 categories. Parents also signed an agreement that they would get their kid to come for those 14 days. And average daily attendance was about 165 students. So about 2/3 of the students that actually signed up actually came, got on the bus, and went to summer learning. In total, 6% of the students who attended summer learning were actually retained. I know board members have asked in the past, well, how many students did actually go to summer learning and actually get held back? So a very small percentage of students actually went to summer learning, and we retained those students back in grades K through 6. So what like a typical day for that student, you would obviously get over 2.5 hours of ELA instruction, you get math, but also we would track things that would actually inform the teacher and also their IASP for next year in terms of how they were performing on writing tasks. So the students that were in summer learning, they worked obviously on Lexia and Zern and all the technology things, but also they had extensive writing over the summer to get them to perform at benchmark level. So that's something that we worked on extensively over the summer. Just to add on to what Dr. Hearn mentioned earlier, this Act 422 compliance, it's pretty rigorous in terms of making sure students are in those top 3 levels. We don't want them at, just, above, or excuse me, just above benchmark. We want students, at benchmark and above, is what I'm trying to say. So that's something obviously we'll track, and we'll talk a little bit more on Thursday during that meeting about the specifics of what needs to go on with these students and how we'll track them going forward with mission measures. We'll have a dive off into accountability, and then also there will be a chance for the board to tell us if we think we're measuring the right things or if there's something else you think we should be measuring in terms of student performance. But overall, summer learning is a success. What we want to do is tick that number down. I remember a few summers ago, summer learning was up around 400 students. And the smaller we get that number, the better our students are doing. But I do think it's successful at the moment. If I had y'all have questions, I can answer those now about summer learning.
Any questions? Now we'll dig into this more on Thursday. Thank you very much, Mr. Young. All right, Dr. Lewis.
Yes, I want to report 5 faculty and staff resignations, 47 faculty and staff recommendations, 36 faculty and staff wants a reference, 4 child nutrition recommendations, 1 transportation retirement, 2 maintenance retirements, 2 maintenance resignations, 2 maintenance recommendations, 1 transportation retirement, and 3 transportation recommendations.
Thank you.
You've been busy.
That's it.
Very busy.
Juanita, let's move on to your fun part.
Okay, you have the sales tax report for the month of July. This is the first month of collections for the new fiscal year. We do collect on a cash basis. So in July, we received right at 2.8 million in sales tax collections, which represents about 11.8% more in collections compared to the previous July of 2024. Overall for the year, this represents about 9% of prior year's total collections. Okay, moving on to our financial report for the period ending June 30, 2025. This is a full fiscal year report. It is, however, unadjusted for our audit adjustments. We've made a lot of them, but we still have more to go. So these are unaudited figures, but it's going to be relatively close to how we'll see the end of the year results come out in the final financial audit once it's completed. For the general fund, total overall revenues of $70 million. With the revised budget that the board approved last meeting, we are at 100.9% of the budget that was approved. Those revenues are 3% higher than they were last year at this time, mainly due to the sales tax, increase in sales tax collections throughout the year. Total expenditures in the general fund are 63.2, right at 63.3 million, rounded up. We're about 99.83% of budget, and expenditures are up 5.7% compared to last year, mainly due to the area of our pupil support services from moving those mental health counselors from ESSER into general fund funding sources. Total net change in fund balance for the general fund that we're anticipating, it'll probably fluctuate after we do all of our adjustments, but it will be close to 6.4 million and total ending fund balance of 43.3 million. Of that fund balance, about 30 million is unrestricted, and that represents approximately 47% of total budgeted expenditures for the year. All right, the next report is, on the next page, is for the special revenue funds. Total combined, total revenues in our special revenue funds collected were 39.4 million. That represents about 102% of our budget for the year. Revenues were actually down about 12% over revenues from the previous fiscal year, again, mainly because of the drop in federal funding. Because of ESSER. We had a large year in 23-24 of ESSER spending, and that decreased for this year with the project, with the program, federal program ending in September of 24. Total expenditures in the special revenue funds of 30.9 million, which represents about 99.5% of total budgeted expenditures, and a decrease of 20% again because of the reduction of the ESSER funds. Total change in fund balance is a positive $2 million overall, with an ending fund balance of 24.4 million in our special revenue funds is what we're anticipating in the results. Okay, and moving on to our report on our group health insurance fund. We're 6 months into the plan year. Total contributions at this point is 8.8 million. Total plan expenses is 7.2 million. 7.2 million is compared to 8.9 million at this time last year as far as plan expenses go. I would like to note that our medical claims appear to be decreasing. It's approximately $2 million down to medical claims at this point last year at the halfway mark. And our drug costs have increased a pretty good bit as well. So we've kind of had that flip-flop there with our increase in drug costs. We did receive our drug rebate payment from UMR to report it this month. You see in the month of June, we have approximately $486,000. And that's a combination of UMR and Blue Cross. We did have a final payment with Blue Cross that came in as well to close out the year because our contract with them ended on June 30th. So total improvement in net assets for the month of June is about $451,000, and overall for the 6 months of the planned year is right at 1.55 million positive change in our net assets. Okay, and so that's the health insurance.
Superintendent.
Okay, just a couple reminders. Submit your annual disclosure statement that's due September 15th. That was in your packets last time, I think. Need another one. Ms. Smith can help you with that. We are about to start the 25-26 school year. Teachers will report Monday, August 11th, and then students will come on the 14th. Just a note, Simsboro grades 6 through 12 will not report on the 14th. We're pushing them back to Monday as the construction has run over some and trying to get all the furniture back in and floors done and give teachers a day or two there to set up their rooms. So they will actually start on the 18th, that Monday. That word's been sent out to everyone out there. Just a reminder, our board training is Thursday out at the STEM Center, starting at 8 o'clock. And then our September board meeting is on September the 9th. That'll be the second Tuesday, not the first one, and that's at Ruston Junior High School at noon out there. We are in a pretty good place with construction out there. Security things have been done at the junior high. We do have a meeting out there Friday with Riley Engineering and the city to make sure that we're prepared for how to get in and out on Thursday when the buses start rolling. There is a little issue there and one at Ruston Elementary, but we have that worked out to where it should flow fairly smoothly.
Right.
Right. Best we can. So, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any board comments, anything else? Before Thursday? If not, take a motion, we adjourn.
So.
So moved, so good. Thank you.